Hey, what's up, guys? Tommy Kane, Vile Maxim. I want to address something really quick. So, in the past week, I would even say maybe even the past 2 weeks, I've been encountering a lot of like really, really negatively fueled rage. And I really want to address where I think this is coming from and why I think this is happening. So for starters, so that you guys really understand, for those of you who don't know my story, and I'll try to go through it a little bit. I come from the street, and I had a rough upbringing. Grew up in crack houses. Mother was a hardcore drug addict, prostitute in and out of prison, criminal. A lot of crime going in our house, from drug dealing, prostitution, women sleeping with people for money in our apartment. It was like a brothel / drug house. And when we weren't, that's when we had a place. When we didn't have a place, it was sleeping outside, sleeping in the streets, sleeping in alleyways, sleeping in parks, shelters, homeless shelters, eating in soup kitchens, et cetera, et cetera. And basically, what happened from that was, who I was, and as a person, what mattered to me was I was deeply affected by music. Listening to Michael Jackson, Phil Collins, Tracy Chapman, and artists like that who made songs that were like profound and about the world, and also hip hop, like, obviously like Tupac Shakur had massive influence on me as a young person. And Tupac, who had a lot of influence on me, made me an activist / hip hop artist. And that's just the way it was. And so anyway, I went on to, my rap name was Poverty, and I went on to, basically do hip hop, and then one thing led to another, and I wound up getting a record contract, and I wound up getting off the street. I went from being on the street to getting a record contract. And there's a whole crazy story in there, but I'm skipping all these right now. You guys could find out more about me as we go. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because what I think fundamentally has happened, and I've been trying to wrap my brain around this for a while now, is that because I was from New England, and that's where I was from, and we all know there's the vast majority of people in the northern New England region, from Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, are mostly white. Massachusetts, obviously during my time growing up there was a large Dominican and Puerto Rican population, but above Massachusetts, it gets pretty white, right? It's predominantly white. And I was a known rapper, and I was white. So what this resulted in, because I was a spitter, I was like a rapper, and it was like right around the time that Eminem had just started making noise, a lot of people in my region became fans. And they loved what I talked about. They loved what I represented, because I represented the streets. Poverty represented the streets. That's why my name was Poverty. So I talked a lot about not just being from the street, but I talked a lot about, in my lyrics, about their lives too, and what we're all going through with drugs and alcohol addiction and abusive parents and sexual abuse, and I mean just all kinds of stuff that was happening, right, in our lives in the 90s. And this was like right around, like when I started doing this around 1998. And like one thing led to another. I got my record deal, as I stated, which that wasn't 98. That was like around 2002. And I started getting played on the radio around those regions. I started to develop a lot of regional fans. Now, obviously, because of my white face, I did not have black people across the country going, yeah, I fuck with this white boy. Like, it wasn't like that. It was actually much more difficult back then than it is for white rappers today. When I went on tour and I went to Houston and all those places, it was like very difficult. Everyone was looking at me like, who the fuck is this white guy? And I had to win their approval and their respect, and it was hard to do, but I did it. But for the most part, I did have a lot of white fans. Now, the reason why I bring this up, as I was saying, is because back then, those white people that supported my music were white people that also loved hip hop, that loved Tupac, that stood for that, that message. And now, after I've witnessed, I'd say it started like around 2010. Actually, I'd say 2008. It was right after Obama won the presidency. I started noticing how social media and your Alex Joneses and your fucking Pat Buchanans and your fucking Glenn Becks and like all these guys just began to push this really insane fucking rhetoric. And people back then thought that rhetoric was fringe. They thought that shit was fringe. It was like on the outskirts. It was like, wow, you people are fucking cuckoo balls. You people are crazy. But because of 9/11 truthers and like movies like Zeitgeist and shit like that came out in the early 2000s, there seemed to be this push of conspiracy. And this conspiracy, which had some validity, believe it or not, a lot of it was grounded in validity, I think, like 9/11, especially like Dick Cheney and his involvement and so forth. But what ended up happening is it started to kind of, the guardrails came off and it kind of started to lose control. And it started to get inflamed and get crazier and crazier and crazier. And when Donald Trump ran for president, Roger Stone, who was his, the guy in charge of his campaign, and who also coincidentally was also in charge of Richard Nixon's campaign, which everyone knows was one of the most racist campaigns ever ran in political history. And he basically told Donald Trump, like, listen, like, if you want to win this race, then you need to appeal to these conspiracy theorists. You need to appeal to these crazy people, to these, these fringe lunatics. And so that's what he did. He went on the Alex Jones show, and one thing led to another, and next thing you know, he was, winning over their following. And a lot of the white kids who used to listen to my hip hop, who follow me and who have been a fan of mine, started to turn. They started to buy into this bullshit, this MAGA rhetoric, this like right-wing shit, like this like fucking crazy. Like they started to believe that like Democrats were evil, that liberals were the demon, liberals were the enemy of the state, like all this fucking cuckoo shit, which is really bad. I mean, like really bad for democracy and whatever. But now they've gotten so crazy that I'm getting death threats. Me. And I'm sitting there going like, I'm nobody, man. Like I'm like barely trying. I'm struggling to hit 6,000 subs. Like I'm not anybody. And I do way better on TikTok than I do on YouTube. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, I get like 500 new followers a day on TikTok. YouTube, it's been a struggle, a lot of which has to do with the algorithm, because this was a music channel for a long time, and now I'm doing a blog, and I think it becomes it takes like 60 to 90 days for the algorithm to kind of adjust, start putting you in front of the right people. But needless to say, I'm not anybody like with any kind of real platform yet, but man, I am getting Instagram messages, DMs. I was getting Facebook messages. I've now removed my Facebook profile again. I hate Facebook. I would remove my Instagram, but for certain reasons I can't. But yeah, I'm getting death threats. People that are threatening to find where I live, threatening to, want to harm me, like, saying things like you will be found and like all this type of crazy shit. And I'm just sitting there and I'm going, wow, like, I don't really feel like I'm really that crazy. Like, I understand if I was somebody that came on here and started being like, whatever people deem to be completely outlandish from the left, like, if I was anti-free speech or I was some like, person that was, begging for permission to have, 7-year-old kids get, gender transition surgery or something like that. I could see if I was like some nutcase like that, then maybe. But I mean, I literally just try to do the same thing I've always done, which is support the people that can't, support the poor people and the working class people and defend the people that can't defend themselves. And it's surprising. It's surprising me that, now, am I worried about these death threats? Not really. I mean, like, at the end of the day, I think a lot of people just talk a lot of shit. But at the end of the day, like, it's disheartening to believe that we've arrived at a place where you can't even offer your opinions anymore, because if they differ, then you're going to get death threats. I mean, that's crazy. I'm not really sure that it's a good thing that our country's this divided. It's pretty terrible. So anyway, that being said, I believe that the problem is that my hip hop career put me in a situation where I've been rooted into this foundational thing on social media where there's so many people that were like white people who like loved my rap that have all now grown up. Because, keep in mind, this was, 22 years ago. And the people that were in their 20s that were loving my rap are now in their 40s. And a lot of them are full MAGA. And so it makes it difficult because even when I'm putting out videos, like right now, I don't really get a lot of support, despite the fact that I've got 5,800 people that sub my channel, because so many of them are New Englander white dudes who drank the Kool-Aid of MAGA, and they absolutely have disdain for everything that I'm saying and doing now. It's not that, he was a rapper and now he's a political guy or he's blogging and they just don't want to hear it. It has nothing to do with that. It's because that people have done that many, many times and done it well and successfully. The problem is that they don't want to hear what I'm saying fully and completely. Whereas Gavin Newsom says, full stop. But I can understand that, that they don't want to hear what I say and that they have differences of opinion. But I mean, death threats, I mean, that's crazy. That's insane stuff. So it's going to take some time for me to continue to keep putting this out and content out over and over and over and over again on this channel to try to do everything I can to try to build something, and keep putting out videos and just keep doing my thing. And it's gonna be a hard battle to climb because I'm working against thousands of people who already sub me that are not in support of anything I say. And secondly, I had a music channel, so it thinks that my channel is a music channel, which makes it even more difficult to get the videos out in front of the right people. So then on top of that, my messages are coming under attack, which is like, just insane. But I'm not going to change my message, and I'm not going to shut my mouth, and I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm not going to stop doing this, and the world is going to have to deal with me. I'm not going anywhere. And that's just the bottom line. I have something to say, and I want to say it. And I really don't care if anybody out there has a problem with it. In the end, we're all going to die. So if the way I go is because one of you kill me, then so be it. Then it is what it is. So anyway, that being said, Keep looking forward to videos. I have a couple new interviews I've recorded, some great stuff. I have coming up, I have an interview with a hip hop producer, Desmond Powell, who's worked with a lot of celebrity producers, and I have a incredible video game developer who is one of the most successful video game developer influencers, I guess you could call them, and that there is in the world. And I have him as well. We had an incredible conversation about video games. So we've got content coming. I'm just, I'm editing some of this stuff, and I have more interviews, and I'm trying to get ahead of the content wheel where I'm able to kind of, release video after video and kind of put it out and let that stuff marinate. That kind of thing. I'm trying to get ahead of the curve. I don't want to be like where I have to, I want to have a few videos in the bag so that when I start rolling them out, I'm ahead of the game. But look out for these videos. They're very good. They're about an hour long each. Excellent interviews, excellent content, great people. You're going to learn something from it if you have an interest in the subject that we're discussing. And that's it. I love all of you guys who sub my channel and those of you who stick with me. I know that there are people that follow my channel that agree with me. And I know that a lot of you remain quiet and you don't say anything. You don't type comments. You don't say anything. You just lurk. I know. I see it happen all the time whenever I make videos. I just want you to know that, that regardless that, I'm grateful. If you don't need to say anything is kind of my point. Anyway, that being said, again, it's Tommy Kane, Vile Maxim. Like the video, hit the bell, subscribe. You know the deal. And I will talk to you soon. Actually, I will talk to you. I'll probably be on again tonight. Actually, I'm going to be discussing some more things about the big, beautiful bill tonight. And I'll have a guest on the channel. So look